Hi everyone, Solar J here. Today I want to take a bit more time to show you how I keep things tidy on the rhythm and some of my workflow procedures for different needs. I decided to do this video because despite YouTube has a lot of great content on how to operate the rhythm, there's not much about how actually people use it in their productions or live sets. So I'm going to cover some of my organizational protocols that I ended up adopting after a couple of years of messing around with the rhythm, and I will also drop some tips and tricks along the way. Let's go! So this is a simplified version of how the rhythm file system is organized. There is an amazing video from True Cuckoo that goes much deeper in the topic. I can recommend it. I will leave the link in the description. So basically we have 128 projects on the machine, each of which can hold up to 128 kits and 128 patterns, each of which can have 12 sounds plus the sound pool, which I will cover later, and finally each sound has triggers, which can have all sorts of trig conditions on sound parameters like timing, velocity, etc. So given this structure, I want to show you first how I approach the project entity. So I think of a project as one of three options. One is complete experimentation, the second is song producing, and the third one is live set. So for complete experimentation, I save the projects with an exp at the beginning, like this one. Basically, here I have no structure. I don't care much about keeping things tidy, because the aim is to export a sample to my computer, do some sound design. So when I want to do that, I just fiddle around, no organizational layer needed. The goal is to practice, learn something, or export a sample. Second way I see a project is for song producing. For song producing, I save my projects with a SNG at the beginning, then the name of the band or project I'm working in, and then the acronym of the track. And this is when I use the rhythm to record, for instance, the drums for one of my production. The goal is to record the drum sounds connected to a song in the DAW. So here I actually add some structure. First of all, I decided to dedicate a full project to each song and save it with this convention. And you might say it's a waste of space, one project for one song, and that I could have a song per bank in a single project containing multiple songs. Well, that's how I started, but then I ended up not knowing anymore at a glance where each song was stored, and I was wasting time trying to find a song by skimming all the bags and listening to it in a multi-song project. And also the space issue is actually not an issue, because you can easily and nicely back up projects on your computer via the transfer app, but I will make another short video showing how to do that. So now I want to show you an issue that I had on the rhythm that bothered me for months until I found out a solution that works just fine for me. Let's load up the tutorial project, which I also save with tutorials and then the topic. Basically on the rhythm, what you do, you usually start working on a kit, right? Let's say on this kit you want for some reason to add like another sample to the kick. Let's say this one, for instance, for some reason. So then you have your nice pattern with the kick and the snare, let's say. Something like this, and then you say, oh wow, this is so cool, I want to save this kit, right? So you're gonna go and kit, save kit, and call it best. So this is your best kit, and you're super happy about it, and then you move to another bank, right? And then you start moving around. Let's say now you want to add some other random sample here, like a clap on the kick. And then you have another pattern that goes like this, with a clap on the kick. And then you say, oh, okay, I'm very happy about it. Let's save this and as another one. Let's say bad. Maybe it's a bad kit, you don't like it. Say, this is bad, but I'm gonna save it so because I have my best kit here, right? So you save your kit to another memory slot, it's the bad one, and you think that the best kit you love is still untouched, right? Wrong. You can see that now the kit on A1 has the clap on the kick as the other. So basically you lost your best kit. And this happens because the pattern and the kit entities are not tied together on the rhythm. They're disconnected. You can use the same kit in different pattern. And this creates, for me at least, a lot of confusion. So how do we solve this issue to avoid cursing, crying, and eventually throw the rhythm on the floor out of rage? Well, for me it's very easy and quite dumb actually. You save every kit to its own bank slot as soon as you change slot. So let's say now we are on A1, we have the clap on the kick for some reason, and when I move to A3, I immediately save the kit on this new slot. And what's the name convention? For me, what works the best is to call it exactly as the slot number. So this is A3, and then when I move to A4, I'm gonna save again with A4. You can also add some tags here like A4 chorus if you're working on a song, something like this. But the important thing is that this way the kit and the slot are connected. So whenever you move around kits and you mess around with that, you know that you're only messing around with exactly that kit on that pattern. And this way is also easy to find them back, to modify them, to copy them around. And at least for me, this solved this problem of disconnecting kits and slots and saved me a lot of headaches. So now every pattern has its own kit and we brought order to this world. The third way I see a project is for a live set. When I work on a live set, I dedicate a project to the event. Let's say live ramming. So live star is the prefix for all my live projects, live set projects, and then you have the name of the event. So I'm gonna show you this one as an example. So the way I think of a live electronic set using the rhythm at the moment is similar to how DJ think. We have a list of songs and we want to go through them more or less sequentially and play/perform them as we play along. I again adopt the one pattern, one kit strategy all the time and save each kit to a pattern slot incrementally. So my live set will start with pattern A1 and will end with pattern X, whatever it will end up being. Then I also program a couple of performances kit to use the quick performance knob. And if I'm not lazy, I also add some synths to give space to other instruments, for instance, or to remove some of the sounds altogether. And I will go from pattern A sequentially through all the others, like, you know, playing different tracks like a DJ and adding some other instruments, of course. So this was about projects, and now let's go a level deeper and talk about kits. So now I have one kit per bank, and this is the way I usually organize kicks. Of course, bass drum and the snare are in these two slots, and I use mainly the RS and the CP pad for bass because they can use the dual VCO engine. The mid pads, I tend to use them for samples, as I don't use the toms engines so much in the rhythm, apart from for some creative applications like transforming them into a bass. So I use the low tom, the LT, MT and HT for samples, and keep the BT for the tom engine. The head goes on the top 4, and if I need some more sample in my kit, I will use the CY and CB, since they also choke each other and can be used to choke samples as the MT and the HT. I personally don't use the song mode at all, not even in live sets. I try to use the chain function to chain patterns together, but I have never found an application for that and just ended up messing up my project. But you know, we're still all learning, so if you have any way that you find useful to chain patterns, or you use a song mode, please let me know in the comments. So this is all I got on kits, since the most important organizational procedures have already been covered in the project section of this video. And now let's go one level deeper again and have a look at how I organize my sounds. So first of all, let me show you something I started using only recently, which is the sound pool. The sound pool is basically a collection of sounds, and by sound I mean some synth, SRC setting, the samples, file, some sample settings, so all the parameters related to the engine and the sample is what form a sound. So the pool is a collection of these sounds and is shared by all pads and allow you to change the sound of a specific trigger, like these triggers, in the following way. So first you have to add sounds to the pool. You go into sound manager and let's try a few kicks, right? We select some of them and then we say copy to sound pool. And now we have 5 sounds copied basically. So now that we have the pool and we loaded only kick sounds so we can use it here, some sounds can be used only in certain paths due to the engine differences. And let's say now we have this kind of pattern and we want to change the sound of the first of this kick. How do I do it? I press the trigger and then by just turning the level, track level knob, I access the sound pool. So these are the sounds that we loaded, and now every time this trigger is pressed, you see, it's a different sound. So this is pretty cool, right? Because you don't need another pad for another kick. You can just use the sound pool as long as they don't have to play together. Then for how to save sounds, I do the following. So basically, let's say you want to save this snare, you go to the sound manager and then select the bank I. You can basically go around banks with the triggers, and I is like, you know, I, me. It's easy to remember, and from the bank I onwards, this is gonna be my personal sounds, and before, sounds that maybe I installed from some sound packs or download from the internet. So I don't have a particular naming convention, but it's very important, you know, then you save track sound, that you add tags. So here you can have, I don't know, SN for now, and then importantly you have to add there is a snare, and you know, you can add even some adjective like bright, dark, vintage. This is a bright snare, and then you save it, and basically now it's there with the correct tag. If you want to add it to the sound pool or load it, it's easy to find. And last thing I want to show you is basically how I turn off velocity on pads. Let's go to a new bank. We would save the kit, but I would just want to clear it now because now you see these pads are velocity sensitive. But I don't really like it, I don't really use it. It's actually, when I want to hear the sound, it's annoying because I really had to push it. These pads are not my favorite, to be honest. So how do you remove the velocity? It's here, it says velocity to vol on, you press left off, and then you do a bit of repetitive work like that, and now all your pads are velocity free. So in summary, today I showed you how I keep things tidy on my rhythm, how I see every entity like project, kit, sound in a different way, depending what I want to achieve. If it's a song, it's a live set, if it's just playing around and experimenting. That's it for today. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel as usual and slap a like before you go. See you next time.